Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. So, hey, just super quick. It's like it's in the afternoon, it's not even the morning, and I don't script my stuff at all. In fact, you can see right here 3:08 Thursday, July 31st. If you're sharp, if you got eyes. I'm shooting this because I was watching Shots Fired podcast yesterday and some other things too. I was watching some stuff on Travis Haley, watching Ian Big, Camp Ganyan. I've got like the whole circuit of shows that I normally watch, same as you. And I had my hater the other day talking about my Czech Republic email. I got another one in Russia too. That's really going to flip his wig. But you know what? Hey, let me move that to the front so I can make sure I can see it recording. Yeah, we got to have you right there, buddy. So, I can make sure that thing's recording, and it is. You know what? I better keep this short because that thing likes to max out on time. So I'm starting to get a lot of views on my channel. A lot for me. I'm like going towards 19,000 views. And Ian Bick, congratulations on your 400th subscriber. I picked up some new subscribers. I want to thank you guys. I want to make something clear. I'm not special or anything. There's nothing special, innately unique about me. I mean, aside from the obvious, we're all individuals. But I'm sitting here and I'm just thinking, I had Mark Ganyan sitting right here. There's nothing special about me any more than anybody else. I'm just a dude. I get up, I make my bed, I shower, take a dump and shave. Well, I take a dump, shower and shave in that order. Exactly in that order. The same as a lot of other people do. I just happen to have had some unique experiences. And I was watching Shots Fired podcast yesterday. I'm going to try to keep this quick and so people can get engaged. They had this dude on there that was from Huntington Beach, which is just south of where I grew up. And he didn't have a dad in his life either. And I was just thinking of everything that he went through as far as trafficking and stuff like that. When I was 16 years old, my mom kicked me out because she was so afraid of the impact that I would have on my brothers and sisters. And I've been thinking about a lot of the reasons why I'm doing this channel. I'm doing it because I enjoy doing it. In fact, I spend a lot of my time alone because I am always at work, always at my other work. We're always studying, and if I'm not doing that, I'm doing physical activity, usually by myself, out in the ocean, up in the mountains, or whatever. I stay busy. I don't have a lot of people time, and so this is a little bit of a window, not just into me, but into all of you, because I get to interact with people in my comment section. Hey, speaking of which, both of you guys, Ben and the other gentleman too, I want to thank you guys for helping me out because I know a lot of things, but I don't know everything. And there's some areas where I'm not the brightest guy. One time someone called me an idiot savant, and that lady, we'll leave that at that. I'm gifted in some areas, in other areas not so much. And maybe that could be a lot of us, I don't know. So, I was watching Shots Fired podcast, and this guy's trafficking drugs, grows up. He became a gang member. He was getting beat up by skinheads. I went the other way with it, and I became a skinhead because of Bloods and Crips. And there's a lot more than that went on. In fact, you know what? Let me get this out. There we go. Have my coffee there. My mom got married to my brothers and sisters' dad. And he is a dad to me too because he raised me, taught me everything I needed to know to survive. But when that didn't work out and I call him my dad too. Even though I call my biological dad my father too. I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about, and a lot of this dude's story on the Shots Fired podcast stemmed from he was trafficking drugs, involved in gangs, the whole list of stuff, trafficking weapons, cocaine, started with pot. And it sounded a lot like my story, and a lot of it had to do with him not having a dad there. And my younger brother is very successful with business and whatnot. He's really helped a lot of people. But he did a video one time. He was talking about us being sexually abused when we were kids. And I was never like penetrated or anything like that. Never had anything in my mouth. Nothing like that. But my mom had this stepdad. And I'm just going to keep it real, man. I don't like that keep it real. Everything's all woke these days. I'm going to keep it real, My mom had this friend, Kathy Mayer. And they used to... like to have parties, and back then she even had this party. She had this costume. It was called the 11 o'clock nigger. And I know that we're not supposed to say that word these days. You know what? Get woke. Like, don't like, I don't care. I'm not walking on eggshells. That's exactly what she called it. Not that she was overtly racist, but she would put on blackface, have this leather hat, and they'd have these parties and stuff. And so she had like all of her little hippie friends. And one time, her and her hippie friend, Kathy, had moved to Colorado, so she went out there, and she left me with this stepdad that used to beat the fuck out of us when we were kids. And I'm trying not to cuss, but I mean, that's really what it was. And by this age, it was 11 years old. I used to smell this dude's strawberry jack-off lotion and stuff like that, and I don't know what was up with him, and I don't like to speak ill of the dead. And to be honest, the last time I saw that guy, I had left him laying in a pile at the curb, and I thought that I'd killed him because he used to ride this 10-speed bike around. He was over drunk talking smack to my mom. And, I had something to say about it, and I threw him off his 10-speed bike into the curb head first. And he landed there, and, that dude's dead. But back then, when I was just a little boy, 11 years old, I woke up, and I used to wet the bed till I was like 12 or 13 years old. And there was a lot of physical violence with animals, aside from like hunting and whatnot, because my dad taught me how to shoot when I was 4 years old. I grew up shooting, I grew up hunting. There was a lot of other violence with animals. My mom thought that, and I don't know if that had to do with being given away to that doctor and lawyer in San Francisco when I was a kid, because I was born in, not going to get into that, but I was given to this couple, and they beat me quite a bit. So there was a lot of extreme violence in my childhood. A lot. Before the stepdad. And I think that a lot of it was triggered when my dog Spade ripped a sheep apart right in front of me, and we were in a barn, and Spade had got the taste of blood. Spade was a Labrador Retriever, a black lab. And he tore this sheep apart right in front of me, man. Just fur, and there was sunlight coming through the barn, the slats on the barn walls that were going down in the dirt. And you could see the sunlight going through all the dust particles in the air. And I remember that sheep's blood hitting the dirt and coagulating like ketchup. And at that point in time, my youngest brother had just been born, so I was 9 years old when I saw that. So I'd already been shooting and whatnot and going with my dad to hunt ringneck pheasant with shotguns, of all things. And also squirrels and rabbits. We used to eat those. But I saw that, and growing up, I had a trap line, and I would trap animals. I guess I'm just gonna just go on with my life story, because it kind of triggered, not triggered in the woke sense, just provoked some thoughts, if you will. And so, I grew up with that, and then my mom decided she was going to go with this stepdad, not the first father to me or even the second father, but the stepdad, who I've never counted as a father. And he was extremely physically abusive. Not sexually, physically. And so, like I said, like I went to bed all the way up to 12 or 13 years old. And I remember at the house that my sister was born at, the next to the youngest, they had some doctor come over trying to figure out why I was wetting the bed so much. I don't know if it was intense physical abuse that provoked or whatever. Long story short, I went to bed till I was like 12 or 13 years old. And the reason why that's important is because when my mom had gone to these guys and their sirens, they're all over today. When my mom had gone to Colorado with Kathy Mayer, she left us alone with his stepdad. And I remember, and I used to wear these ugly plaid pants, and I would wear them to bed. And I'd piss the bed, and there was bunk beds, and my little brothers were on the bottom bunk bed, and I was on the top. And, you know, we talk about bravery or cowardice or whatever, and people think it's brave to go facing drug cartels. I've been both a coward and incredibly courageous in my life. I've gone both ways with it. And I remember waking up that morning having pissed the bed. Yeah, I like, you know what, I like throwing this out there because everybody else has got all this other stuff that they want to edit the hell out of it. Dude, what's up with these sirens? They're just everywhere this morning. Can't record shit. I need to get a soundproof room. Anyways, I'm going to edit that out. So, I had worn these plaid pants to bed, and I had pissed the bed. I'm like 12 years old, and I wake up, and this stepdad's like sucking on my nipple. It was this one right here, too, the one I'm pointing at right now. I was on the upper bunk. And you know, I carried a lot of shame with that for a long time. But then I got older, and you know, what was really the cowardice part of it is here I am 11 or 12 years old. I sat bolt upright, I had wet the bed, and I told this guy, I'm not going to say his name, but I told him, I said his name, and I said, I wet the bed, I got to go. And I ran out of there just in dread fear, knowing my mom wasn't there, knowing that no one's going to save you, ran upstairs to go to the bathroom, and I'd smelled the strawberry jerk-off lotion that was wet in the air. So he'd been up stroking his butt all night or whatever. It was not all night. It was early in the morning. It was probably like 8 or 9 in the morning. And I got to say, man, this is the first time I've ever said this. And when my little brothers see this, I got to, oh man, this is going to hit me, dude. I'm sorry I left you down there. Our room was like in the basement. I'm sorry I left you in that room, being that young, alone with that guy. And I doubt that he did anything to you. I don't think he did because I wasn't gone that long. I was in dread fear and I ran and I left my little brothers with that guy. But that was like 11 or 12 years old. No dad around. And anyways, we would be moving back to LA shortly, which all the stuff with the Bloods and Crips would start. That was our introduction to LA. And man, I don't know if I really want to throw that out there, you know, because that's a lot to put out there. You know, you get these haters. I've been talking about haters lately. That guy telling me that I haven't done shit. You know, I've been a coward in my life in a lot of ways. Haven't always stepped up and fought every single time. Haven't always done that. And then other times I've been like a complete maniac. I don't know if I would like to use that word to describe you, but Russia, the Bering Sea, Mexico, all by myself too, not a completely alone against nature or man, and against nature or people that people classify as terrorists. So I've been both ways, but the most courageous thing that I've ever done, the most cowardice thing I've ever done, I think, the most cowardly I've ever been was leaving my 2 little brothers down there when I was 11 years old with that guy. I don't want to cuss, but I'm fucking ashamed of that, man. Oh, man, whoa. Because me and my brothers, we don't talk a lot. And we were like, really, we fought a lot growing up, too. All the time. That's the most cowardly thing I've ever done, man, is leave them with that guy. And when we got older, we would beat this guy constantly. Even before we were 16, because, I mean, you go to school fighting and stuff like that, you get used to it. And we fought a lot in L.A., not unlike the guy on the Shots Fired podcast. If you go to school in L.A. and you're not in like an upper-class school, you're slinging dogs, man. You're going to be fighting all the time, especially if you're white and you go to a school with a lot of gang members in it. You know, that was that. We moved to LA, and then, you know, we start slinging products. And I'm still friends with the Mexican guys, Mexican descent. They are American. I'm still friends with one of those guys to this day, like our first connect. And, you know, we went through the same pot thing because Mom smoked pot with Charles Manson. We went through the same graduation of things: pot, cocaine, methamphetamines. We would sell stuff when we were just adolescents out of my mom's garage. We had a 2-car garage in LA, and we'd sling stuff out of that. One time a guy came in and he was shooting up in my mom's bathroom, and me and my brother, we beat the fucking tar off that fool. Very violent. Very, very violent. And I want to preface that with the fact that one of the worst things I ever read was by a social worker on Craigslist. So when a lot of people get currency for being victims these days, and I want to make sure that I make it super clear that I'm not a victim in any way, shape, or form. People suffer much worse than I do, and one of the worst things I ever read was a social worker that was on Craigslist. I read a social worker that was on Craigslist talking about how this lady was prostituting out her little baby for drugs, and this kid, I don't know if it was a baby or like a 4 or 5-year-old, had anal warts because of a result of this thing. So there's like some just abject trash out there when it comes to parents, and man, it breaks my heart for these kids. So I want to make it clear that when I'm talking about my story, I've got my bike right here. I've got my guitars. I've got all my little trinkets and just garbage that I'm not going to take with me when I die. So I was thinking about what I could say that would be interesting to you, and I thought I would just like start giving out a little bit of my story. And the most courageous I've ever been, one was going to the Bering Sea, but the other one, when I told you about my ex-wife, she left my daughter in Russia. You know, that broke my heart because my daughter, I've got 2 of them. And the first one, to be honest, I could have been a better dad, but also I've been sober for like decades, man. Don't drink, no smoking, no nothing. And by decades, I'm talking like 30 years. So, you know, I've done a lot in the way of like trying to rectify the type of person I was when she came along or came to being, to the person I am today. But my youngest daughter, her and I were like pretty close, you know, and now we're not. And she got left in Russia. And so the most courageous I've ever been, aside from the Bering Sea, I was talking to my ex on the phone when I was crossing the border into Mexico. And when I went to Mexico, I was afraid of getting shot in the head or having my head cut off initially. But then after you see enough stuff, and I was asking ChatGPT if members of the drug war are considered veterans, and we're not, because Mexican doesn't have a legal status as veteran the way that they do in the United States. But then I was asking, I'm like, do we see combat? Is it considered combat in Zacatecas? And it's like, yes, we absolutely see combat. Which isn't here or there. I don't want any kudos for anything I've done. I do everything that I do because I'm going to do it. And when I was crossing into Mexico, I was afraid of being shot in the head or having my head cut off. And you know, after a while, I lost that fear. And when I was crossing back, I'd come back for a visit. When I was crossing back into it, my My ex was laughing at me because I gave her one more chance to bring my daughter back. And she told me, she was laughing at me, telling me that they were going to cut off my head. It's good. She was laughing at me, telling me that they're going to cut off my head. And I laughed right back at her. And I told them, you know what, they might. But with them it'll be 60 to 90 seconds. With you it was 10 years of bad marriage. So, I mean, after working in Mexico, you know, if you get hit in the head or something, there was one time we got in a gunfight by Martinez Dominguez. And they killed a cop. And we're over there and we're in this little creek. I've told this story before. But anyways, there was a guy that got shot through the head right here with a .223 round. And I was listening to Travis Halian earlier. I'm not a gun nut like 1 in 7 twist or 1 in 9 twist. There's different things that you can get into. I'm a 308, 7.62 by 51 millimeter guy, but this guy had gotten shot with a .223, 5.56 by 45 millimeter NATO. Went through, exited his head right here, blew the back of his head out, killed him so fast that he fell over backwards. His right leg was doubled behind, and he dropped. His weapon was still in his hand, and he dropped his mochila or backpack full of magazines immediately. And when I saw how fast that happened, I lost the fear of getting shot in the head. You don't want to get captured, you don't want to be tortured because it's going to be very unpleasant. But I finally understood that if that is what they're going to do, they can only inflict that pain on you for so long. Ultimately, it will end. And that's kind of what training teaches you in Mexico too, that you got to do whatever you got to do to get through whatever you got to get through until you get to the end of whatever you're going to do, and then the next thing's going to be there. So you're training more than anything, aside from teaching you technical and tactical proficiency with whatever it is also embedding or ingraining in you the fact that you're just going to have to deal with whatever and not complain until it's over, and that's it. And it's life-changing. And my first night on patrol, my very first night on patrol, Ed was talking about having an AR-15 and an AR platform chambered in 9mm. I don't know about all that. I have a picture of my first night on patrol, and I'm going to tell you this. That night on patrol changed my life. And all I'm going to say, because I am completely loyal to everyone that I should be, is that Mexico has a way of seeing whether or not you're for real, regardless of what side you're on. And I'm also going to say, you got to be very careful about the way that you put things or state things, because people might misconstrue it or whatever, and you don't want that to happen. But Mexico also is going to teach you things about yourself and about others that outside of the scope of working for the government, you can't even really talk about because it's that heavy. And people that are involved with it know what I mean. And people that aren't involved with it can imagine or think that they know what I mean, but they're going to go to one of Valhalla VFT's guys. He was talking about their $18,000 boot camp to become a Green Beret or a Ranger or MARSOC. I'm just thinking about what I've talked about today. I'm going to cut it off at that, man. You know, I'm not going to talk about work anymore than that. I like doing my channel. I've wanted to tell my story for a while. It's a unique one. I want to tell my story for the benefit of those that legitimately try to protect other people, and I'm going to be upfront. I'm not super lover of all things law enforcement. I'm not. I never have been. When I was in college, and I still go to school, but a long time ago, I wrote a paper on freedom. And freedom is something that's defined differently by everyone. And so when we talk about being in the land of the free, it depends on what you mean by free, because if you try not to pay your taxes, you're not going to be free very long. Or other types of freedom. So when we talk about freedom, when we talk about statism, when we talk about religion, I want to say that I grew up wearing my father's Marine Corps boots, crawling around in them, worshiping the U.S. government and pissed off that I could not go to Vietnam and fight with my dad. Went down to the Marine Corps, told them that let me enlist and I will jump out of a plane with no weapons over a bunch of Taliban that want to kill me and just give me the chance to confront these guys. And they're all like, whoa. And I was dead serious. On my mother, I was serious. I'm still serious. If someone's going to try to bring that type of level of hurt against me or people I care about, I will definitely fuck you up because I like living in peace and I'm not going to allow anybody to get between me and that. Period. I'm not bravado. It just is what it is. I'm very laid back and low key. I don't want any problems with anybody. But at the same time, my life has taught me that you can't men don't let themselves be controlled by anybody. If you believe in something, you do whatever it takes to bring that to fruition. And you stand by your principles. A man is accountable to those that count on him. A man has principles. Those principles don't bend for anyone, especially himself, because otherwise they're not really your principles. They're not really your principles, are they? If you bend them for yourself. You got to wake up, make your bed, because the way you do one thing is the way that you do everything. And you get to a point in life where you're not going to be controlled by anybody other than your God or those that you allow their perspectives and their visions to guide those of yours. Also, I spend a lot of time alone, and that's not really healthy. And the reason why it's not healthy is because you are the totality of the people that you hang out with, good or bad. And when you go somewhere, you're going to have traits of those people that will rub off on you. You go hang out with other people, you have that. But when you hang out with yourself, it's never good to be the smartest person in the room. And right now, unfortunately, better or worse, I am the smartest person in this room right now because I'm the only one in it. But I'm not a fool that thinks I know everything. And so I'm doing this podcast. I'm going to see where it takes my life. I'm going to see where it goes. I believe in God strongly. I'm pretty sure his name is Jesus. I hope that it is. I'm not certain that the Bible wasn't written to control people, given the fact that most of it was assembled 300 years after Christ died, and a lot of it was written a half a century to a century or more after Christ died. So I've got some issues with whether or not the Bible is actually a vessel or a vehicle to control people, but I do believe in Jesus. Just so you guys know where I'm at, you're my audience, so I want to thank you guys for dropping in, man, and I like doing this podcast. I hope you enjoy it too, and if you don't enjoy it, that's okay too. If you do, like and subscribe, but I'm going to continue doing this anyways because it's my deal, and I would like to see, what would I like to see happen in the United States of America? I said I'm I'm not completely supportive of law enforcement. I am supportive of everybody owning weapons and being responsible for their own safety and their security and that of their immediate community. I do not like a large, completely overgrown government. And when I was talking about statism being a religion, it is a religion. It took me a long time to get over that. And I don't know. I'm not going to tell anybody else how to think. So, what else can I end it up with? You just got to get to the point to whether you think that being a statist is a good thing. And I disagree with it. I don't like it, especially since Barack and Trump. I try to stay out of politics on this. But when we have these people, Biden and Trump, no matter where you're at, and those are the best and the brightest out of 330 million people, or we can't even agree on freedom, or is this country being this big a good thing? I think that local government's better. I might edit this part out. I don't know. You know what? I'm just going to shut up. I made enough for today. Thanks for dropping in. I appreciate it. I like having someone to talk to.